Unfortunately, no. I am a Viet Kieo, like Leon Soviet Kieo. So
Okay.
I can speak Russian and English.
It's wonderful that we have people can speak English in the room. So we know that we are blending with the international. Thank you very much for letting us know.
Nice to meet you, everybody. Nice to meet you, Kathleen. So glad to see you after 5 years.
Nice to see you too.
Hello everyone. Mọi người ơi, mọi người cho phép Khuyên một xíu để cho Khuyên được welcome các anh chị người nước ngoài ở trong phòng của mình nhé. So Khang, may you have to type the instruction to choose the language into the chat if you have. Thank you very much. Welcome people to Kathleen's session with the Vietnam community. So for whom would like to to hear in English and to listen in English, so may you choose the language.
Chị Khuyên ơi, main room, like those who speak in English, stay in the main room. There's no need for you to choose anything because Kathleen is not choosing.
Okay. So Khang just gave the first instruction. So if you speak in the English, just stay in the main room. So you don't need to choose anything. Mọi người ơi, cho những ai muốn chọn tiếng Việt, Khuyên mời mọi người đụng vô cái dấu 3 chấm ở cuối màn hình và giúp Khuyên chọn cái interpretation. Và trong cái interpretation mọi người chọn vào, mọi người sẽ chọn giúp Khuyên là Vietnamese. Nếu như ai xài tiếng Việt thì có thể xài cái chức năng phiên dịch và chọn tiếng Việt ạ. Chị nên nói tiếng Việt hay chị nên ở main room hả Khang?
Chị ở main room, chị nói tiếng Anh dùm em.
Ok. Dạ rồi. Ai đã chọn được? Dạ bây giờ Khuyên bắt đầu nhờ Ngân dịch dùm Khuyên ạ. Ai đã chọn được tiếng Việt rồi và nghe được tiếng của Ngân, xin cho Khuyên một dấu hiệu để Khuyên biết là mọi người đã chọn được ạ. So who already here? Yes. I don't hear. Thank you very much. Yeah. Good evening from Vietnam. And I guess that good morning and afternoon from somewhere over the world. So welcome to our session today with Kathleen and with the Vietnam NVC community. I'm a little bit nervous and excited to welcome Kathleen to our session. So today we will have Kathleen with a session about a question and answer about how to build collaborative culture in the workplace by NVC. I remember I would like to share a little bit why we Team Vietnam would like to invite Kathleen for our next coming IIT in Vietnam. I remember I first met Kathleen in 2019 in Slovenia when I was in my first IIT training. And I remember there were 81 participants in the IIT. And on the second day of the training, on the early morning, I took a walk and I met Kathleen on the road. And she asked me, "Are you Khuyên?" It really blew my mind. I couldn't imagine how could she remember my name. And it really touched me. I see how could she put a lot of care in remembering people. Yeah, a lot of story relating to her. And I must say that Kathleen was the first people inspired me to pursue the candidate certification journey. And she also inspired me to bring IIT to Vietnam. And I contact CNVC for 1 year. I emailed them, I told them that I would like to bring IIT to Vietnam, but they didn't respond until I met Kathleen again. And I told her that I want to bring IIT to Vietnam. And Kathleen stepped in. And when she put the director of CNVC trap, and that our first conversation with CNVC started. So for me, it's such a blessing to meet Kathleen. I believe that all the interesting story will come through our conversation. So that is just the first very brief story about how I met Kathleen and how we want her to be in Vietnam this year with us in October. So I think now I would like to ask Kathleen. So one of the story, if you already read Kathleen's profile, you may know that Kathleen was a music conductor. And today I and my colleague talked to each other and we asked, so what brought you to become an NVC trainer? What made you become from a music conductor to the NVC trainer? May you share a little bit about yourself through that story, Kathleen?
Yes, thank you, Quinn. I'm very touched by your introduction. There's something that kindness and care, it means so much to me, and I experience it so much from this team. And so I'm grateful for that. And thank you for the question about how do you get from a music conductor to a trainer in nonviolent communication. There are a couple answers to that. One is I've always wanted to create harmony in the world. And so I tried that through teaching in the public school, through music, through taking my music ensemble around to different places in the world to show how our human creativity can bring so much beauty. And I find that being able to go into prisons, being able to go into schools, just as a human being, listening and trying to figure out what's important to us through nonviolent communication is still bringing harmony to the world. I'm using my ears. I'm listening to people's words. I'm listening to the heart and the meaning behind the words. I'm listening to the experiences. And we're finding common ground. And in that common ground, we can create these beautiful collaborative spaces where the music emerges, or whatever this organization is to give and offer to the world, that can emerge together when we collaborate. And so that's one answer, is the ensemble, the music ensemble, and a business or organization or working with a group of people, it's all the same. How do we listen to one another and play in tune with one another? The second answer to that question is, like many people, I came to nonviolent communication because of pain. And so pain in a relationship, trying to figure out why one of my best friends didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore. What happened? I was deep heartache. And I learned a lot through this lens of why that might be possible and where disconnection happens in the world. And so I might have come because of pain, but I stay because of joy. I stay because the relationships I now have are grounded in so much understanding and so much care. And I still, in every relationships, I have those moments where there's conflict and there's tension and we break trust. But now I at least have some tools on how to repair when the trust is broken, how to regrow trust, how to learn through dialogue ways that we can work more in sync, ways that we can work with more common purpose. We can work more effectively together. So that's really why I stay and why I do this work. I see it as bringing harmony to the world at a time when the world could really use some more harmony.
Thank you. So harmony, I hear a lot. That is the keys. And I guess that a lot of, I met a lot of people coming to NVC because of the pain. They want to heal the pain inside and amongst the relationship around them. Thank you. I would like to celebrate for the need for harmony in the world. So now we come to the topic. It's about the collaborative culture. Yeah, I would like to come back to the audience first. So I would like to send a question for all of us. You can type into we reply into the chat box. So one factor that symbolize for the collaborative culture, that to you. So if you can type in English, it's better for, and it's faster for Kathleen to have a look. But if you can, or you can type in Vietnamese and we will have to translate. Yes, I'm hearing a lot about care, how people holding to each other. How can I speak the truth without the fear of punishment? I am accepted to say no, supportive. How people give all opinion in group. Empathy and deep listening, win-win solution, where every voice could be heard. There is space for every voice. Yeah, especially for minority. Yep. So I want to pass back to Kathleen. How about your opinion and your experience? What is the collaborative culture? Yeah, how does it mean to you? How you define collaborative? And what is the unique that NVC bring to the collaborative culture? Yeah.
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for those responses in the chat. I resonate with all of them. For me, there are many benefits. Collaboration in the workplace can increase the creativity. It can increase the flexibility of an organization to respond to needs that it needs to respond to. It can increase the trust and the transparency and honesty within an organization, is that those are the benefits of creating collaborative cultures. When people are willing to speak up, particularly for safety and sustainability, problems can be dealt with at earlier stages instead of later costly stages, right? And having a collaborative culture makes it easier for employees to share difficulties, like issues that are happening, without fear of being judged or fear of retribution, punishment, because start to understand that the different perspectives that everyone brings are strengths, they're assets for an organization. It's like to start encouraging different perspectives so that the organization can become stronger. And I also think about a collaborative culture where the physical and the mental and emotional health for all the workers is taken into account so people can show up healthy, so they can be more creative and more productive. They have better quality of life, so workers are more likely to engage and contribute. When different voices are invited into the room, then the expertise that each person brings is valued, but also becomes another resource for the organization. And when there's more health and engagement, then there's lower worker turnover. And I would imagine for the manager, there would be less stress, because as a manager, if I had to carry the entire burden by myself without relying on the employees, that would be very overwhelming. So to have a clarity in the collaboration of who does which role, for what reasons, what needs they're tending to, really supports a functioning and healthy, vibrant business or organization. Now, nonviolent communication was developed in the 1960s in the United States by Marshall Rosenberg. And he was responding to a lot of the cultural divisions, the inequities in our country in this time, around race relations, around poverty. And he wanted to find a practice, a way where we could really see the humanity of everyone and create more equitable systems. And one of the core things that's unique about nonviolent communication is this idea that human beings across the planet, regardless of our ages, our languages, our skin color, our cultures, our political systems, that we all have these common universal human needs. And so things like need for safety or for health, for meaningful work, purpose in our lives, care for our families, creative expression, or to be heard, to connect. And those needs are at the very heart of how we function as individuals and as we function in groups of individuals, whether it be businesses or families or governments. And so learning to hear what are those common needs is one way to help us be very efficient. And it's hard to do this, I think, online, but if you're willing to help give it a try just to get a sense of what it's like, how important those needs might be to us. If you're willing to take something that's on your desk nearby and or near you and just pick it up, maybe you have a phone in your hand or a pen or something, and imagine that whatever it is that you're holding, imagine it's something that you really value. So pick something that's important to you, whether it's freedom or your family or contribution or peace, productivity. Okay. And then I'd like you to put it out of reach so you can't get to it. And now imagine that precious need that's very important to you, it's really out of reach. You don't have it anymore in your life. And just notice how you feel. Notice how you feel. And if you're willing to put into the chat, just how does it feel that the thing that's precious to you, you no longer have access to in your life again? Be willing to put a few into the chat. Yeah, I'm seeing lack of breath. I often feel panic. Desperate anxiety. Deep sadness, miserable, empty, fear, sorrow, a hole. Yes, thank you. I don't want to leave you feeling like that very long. So I invite you to grab that and bring it back to where you're sitting. Worried and afraid, yeah. Okay, now imagine that this thing that's precious to you, you can have as much or as little as you want. It's always available. Now, how do you feel? Please write that in the chat. It's always accessible. I feel calm, chilled, joy, deep sadness, peaceful, gratitude, safe, warmth, relieved or ease. Yeah. And so one of the assumptions in this work is that our perception of these needs, whether they're satisfied and we have access to them, they're within reach, or whether they're out of reach or they're threatened, really drives our behavior. Because as you just experienced, nature gives us these feelings, right? If they're out of reach, nature's like, go find what's important, go grab it. And when there's conflict, like in departments, often it's because something that's important to a particular department in their role might seem like it's being threatened or not seen or going away, and we're trying to protect it and bring it back. So when I'm working with nonviolent communication in organizations, it's one thing we start to get clear about in collaboration is what are the different roles that people play? And what are the different needs that those roles are there to protect? And so one example is I went into an art nonprofit, and I asked like the education director, what their job was, and they said, well, it's to provide an exciting learning experience for students and to help them be creative. And then I asked the financial person, what's your job? They said, well, my job is to protect the resources and make sure that we have everything we need to support those programs. Now, it sounds like there would be a lot of collaboration there. They're working together, but they were often in conflict because the creative person said, I want, this amount of money for this idea and this money for that idea and this much for that, and I want to do something new. And the financial person was like, no, we don't have the resources for that. You can't do that. But and so they were in conflict, right? But once they realized, oh yeah, your job is to protect these resources and support them so that my programs can be supported. And my job is to run really good programs so people will be interested in bringing in money to the organization so we can keep doing this work in the world. Then their conversations completely changed. The creative director would go and say, I have this idea. I want to know from you how much you think it would cost. And if you have any other ideas that would give me the same result, but would be more cost effective for you. And the financial person would say, tell me your biggest dream. And I will see if there's something I can do to help support that. So I think I'll stop here and see if there's any questions. I'm just hoping this was a little example of when we start working with what we really care about, what's underneath our judgments and our strategies, that we actually become much more effective and realize that we're on the same team, working toward the same goal.
Thank you. So we come to the audience, and I understand. I just want to give a very quick reaction relating to the vibrant and functioning business. It's really alive to me, and it's really touching, because what I usually heard is, yeah, we come here for functioning, the need for functioning, for effectiveness, efficiency, but yeah, we usually forget about the vibrant business and how to make an equitable system for all. It remind me is what modern profit, how we can take care of people in the system. So now I would like to come to the audience. So you ask if any person have questions. Yeah.
Or questions or reactions, is what I'm talking about something that you are also looking for?
Yeah. So I guess that Ngân already translate. So I will ask if anyone to give any reaction to what Kathleen just shared. You can raise your hand so we can unmute and invite you to share.
I think this is one of those times perhaps when it's maybe we're used to, I could talk for hours, but without the sense of like, what's important to you? Without that sense of what is it that your voice brings to this space that would really also help create the direction that I go in. So we'd love to hear from you. I see Larissa's hand.
So I would like Larissa.
Yeah, and partly I know that partly this is like a zone when the professor is asking, has anybody like some comments or whatever, and then maybe me. So hope it would be like resonating. So Kathleen, what you said, it resonates deeply to me, and I guess I need an acknowledgement that this way of bringing nonviolent communication into your job, into the projects you do, into your environment, this is a hard way, but this is a really profitable way. In a way that you change, even changing small things within yourself, you change the whole environment. It's like circles in the water. And yeah, things that you said, they evokes a lot of, like challenge, gratitude, and curiosity in me. Like, I guess I haven't seen like something like this has happened on 100% in my professional experience, but I'm on the way. I'm on the way in each project I'm working, in each project I'm collaborating. I try to do it more nonviolent, like bring needs, bring feelings into like surface. And yeah, thank you very much. That resonated deeply.
Thank you so much, Larissa. I just want to comment on one of the pieces, can we ever see it done 100%? Like, I don't even know what that looks like. So for me, I want to be clear that this is a daily practice. It's not an arrival place. It's how can I enter my workplace or with my family and show up in a way that inspires other people to also be engaged and to show up with their gifts and to bring their creativity to the table. Because I really trust that kind of world when we're all working together. And part of my daily practice is I know that I'm going to say things that will be hard for people to hear. I know I'm going to say things that impact. I know that I'm going to recreate harm that's been done historically. Because we live under systems where some people thrive and some people don't thrive as much. And so for me, it's a practice to how do we create spaces where more people thrive more of the time. And part of that practice for me every day is to step into a place of repair. When I have had impact, is to just name it like, oh, I want to check out. I think something I said may have hurt or may have conveyed a very different intention than what I want. And I want to find out how that was for you. And I'm here to hear the impact and then to take action to change it, because that's how we learn. Oh, now I have this information. Now I want to change the ways that I operate. And I can't do that on my own. I have to have people around me to give me feedback. Feedback is a precious and beautiful part of the process. So I'll stop there. I know we have many other questions, but I would love to hear some more of your own experiences or things that you're looking for.
Thank you. So there's one, Miss Thu. Miss Thu also give you a questions, I guess. So can you elaborate on that interesting example of the creative person and the financial person? She would like to know how NVC can help to create more harmony.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So in that organization, there are, of course, other people that have other jobs. So there's somebody who also connects, does the marketing and connects with the general public. And so they need to find out what's our vision? How do I communicate that vision? And is that coordinated also with what, is consistent with our program? Is everybody in the organization focused toward the same vision? There's other people who do logistics, who take care of the buildings, who you have the idea, right? That there's people with different roles. So the way that nonviolent communication is supportive is instead of just looking at, what's the money we have $500,000 to spend and we try to divide it up. Instead of looking at it like from that lens, an economic lens, or just a program lens, we go to an underlying layer, to a deeper thing of what's our vision and purpose. And that drives how we use money. That drives the programs that we operate. And so once I hear, like from the financial person, what is it that you need maybe in the role of the financial person? It was to protect resources, but also as a human being that's showing up at that job, maybe that person also would have enjoyed consideration or some kindness when they were being talked to. Maybe they would like to be valued for their expertise that they hold in that position, rather than having somebody, maybe the creative director, running into their office and say, "You're always trying to shut down my programs. Why don't you like me? What are you doing? Why don't you ever support the work we do here?" Maybe that person in the financial office says, "Hey, I want some consideration and some respect so we can have these conversations." So where nonviolent communication would be useful is, one, identifying what the needs are. And so maybe the creative person wants to have support. Maybe he wants to know that there's some shared teamwork going on. Maybe the creative person also wants to be valued for what they bring to the organization and seen for the beauty of their ideas. And so nonviolent communication, we start to listen in a way that maybe the creative person says to the financial person, "Are you telling me that you're really trying to protect the resources in order to support our programs?" That person might say, "Yes, I'm doing my job." "Oh, and are you wanting some respect and some sense of being valued for what you're bringing?" "Yes, that's what I'm wanting." And the financial person could say to the creative person, are you excited about the opportunities that you imagine our students will have? Are you imagine that more creative people in the world will really make the world a better place? And are you wanting support to do that? And the creative person says, "Yes, yes, yes, that's what I've been saying." And then once they start to hear what's important to each other, usually anger de-escalates right away. It's really hard to stay angry when somebody's really hearing you. I worked in prisons for 20 years, and that was one of the jokes that the men in the prisons had, was I would role play with them and they would challenge each other to try to stay angry in a role play. It was like they were really angry and I would just listen, and gradually their anger would dissipate. So that happens in an organization. And also, once we get clear about what we're both going for, then we can come up with more effective solutions and policies. that actually tend to the needs. Is that a useful answer? Did I elaborate enough to bring about some more insight? And I'm also seeing something in the chat going. I don't know if you want to read that.
Trang, just cut the wrap up what you said. Thank you. Yeah. So I would like to invite Annie. Do you want to share something?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I like to ask the question regarding the harmony between compassionate conversation and direct conversation. For example, in a case when, let's say, I am the manager and I need to talk to my employee. The employee is not performing well. So normally I was trying to tell her in a soft way, compassionate way. But sometimes I do not know how to communicate both in a compassionate and direct so that it has an impact in a short time rather than just back and forth and saying the same thing many times and cannot see the improvement in a short way, and the leadership cannot wait. So they can say, just let her go. And at the end, it will be a heartful conversation.
Mm.
So how to communicate that in the proper way at the beginning.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. I love that example because you have power differences, you have time pressure, you have the agreement about the role of the job, measurements on the expectations of what's to be done. And those roles matter because it impacts the rest of the organization and their function. So thank you for that example. So I have, so I want to say one of the things that I did for 14 years for the Center for Nonviolent Communication was to build up a certification program for those who wanted to become certified trainers internationally. And that was my biggest challenge, is how do I give them feedback in a way that's really effective and clear and direct and full of compassion for one's humanity, right? So there's a very specific, nonviolent communication helps us put our attention in different areas. And one place that's really important that can give that direct, that clarity without judgment, is to put our attention on the observations, like the things that are actually happening. So I might say to that employee, I've noticed that in the last 10 days, 4 of the 10 days you've come to work a half an hour late, or whatever the situation is, or 3 of the reports weren't done until the following day, they didn't meet the deadline, or whatever the situations are. We give very particular specifics about the behavior without judgment. I've noticed that this is happening. And then depending on the workplace, you might talk about your feelings, you might leave them out. This part doesn't matter, but to pay attention to my inner feelings, like I might feel worried about that. I might feel irritated by that. Whatever it is, I listen to those internally because they help me find out what it is the need that I'm concerned is going to be out of reach. The need that won't get met through these behaviors. So I might say, the impact of that, so I might say that I've noticed you've not been at work, that the work has started a half an hour late. And it's really important to me that everybody can stay on the agreed upon timeline in order for the department who relies on you to be able to get their work done on time too. Or I realize that I'm not able to be as productive as I need to be when I'm waiting for you to show up. Or that we start the day with a connection, and when you're not there, I don't have the experience of all of us being on the page. So whatever that need is, I go right to that. Here's the behavior, here's how it has an impact, and then you end immediately with a request. And it might be something like, would you be willing to tell me what's prevented you from being here on time? Or would you be willing to tell me what your understanding of our agreement is? Or would you be willing to tell me if there's any support or adjustments that we need to make in order to tend to what's important to you and to take care of the rest of the staff at the same time? So I guess when, to have a particular situation, I might be able to give a better example, but there's a very clear process of specific things that you notice, why it matters, what are their needs and values that are impacted, that I might be worried won't be met from that, and then a very clear request. And this can be done very quickly, very directly, and with a lot of compassion. Because one of the requests I can make at the end is simply, can you tell me how you feel hearing this? Are you worried that you're about to be punished? Because that's not my intention. I'm here to help us work it out. And there's a lot of ways when we have power differences, how we can help navigate that. So we actually create spaces where our employees will talk directly to us without fear of punishment, because they have a trust that we're in this together. But being compassionate doesn't mean we have to take a long time or be soft. Is that useful? Does that match your situation?
Thank you, Kathleen. It is useful. If you don't mind, I would like to come back after if somebody else asks a question. Can
Or
I stay or should I come back after the others?
Please stay for a follow-up. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to have your advice for a situation. I used to be a leader in a project, and I have my leader as well. At that time, many of the team members were having family issues, even including me. Like my son was having an issue with his lung. My college son had an issue with his leg. Another college was having an issue with their own health. So my leader was trying to stay calm to a certain limit. He was emailing us saying, like, this project was cursed. So many people were having problems. We felt very hurtful, but at the same time, I understood his feeling. The project was not going in a smooth way because we were having many family issues, personal issues. So if I were him, how could I do in order to keep my mental balance of empathize others' situation as well as keeping the project in time, budget, resources? Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. What a challenging situation. And I imagine at these times, it's not necessarily unusual that maybe many of us have experienced those. So I hear so many levels and layers in what you're sharing. And one is like, how do I keep my own mental balance, right? My own grounding in the middle of this. So for that, there's a whole process of how do I stay connected to what I value and be clear about how I care for myself. And there's a whole process in nonviolent communication that we tend to work on right at the beginning of the IIT, the International Intensive Training, about about how do we self-connect, and so we can really live from our values and be more effective even in challenging times, or make the request that we need to get the support during those times. And then I imagine there's another layer with your team where other people are also having family challenges and health challenges. And bringing into the workplace, like just acknowledging our humanity and the pieces we go to can go a long ways without taking much time. And so even just saying, oh, wow, this is happening at your home and this is happening in your home. We're sitting here with our attention divided, and we're sitting here with our energy divided, still in the workplace. But just wanting to take a moment to appreciate that and acknowledge that can sometimes free up the energy to show up for what I can show up for now. There's so much energy that goes into pretending that everything's okay, or pretending that I fit into the normative system, whatever that is. Like if we can just take away some of those layers and say, I care about your family, not that we're going to talk about it here, but I care about you and your well-being in your family. How can we make this space supportive for now so that we can focus on our work during these next 3 hours? And so that's another layer in your question. And then there's another layer to talk with your boss, the leader. And that one I would get I would get a lot of personal empathy and support, because it can be exhausting to empathize with somebody else,
That's right.
right? When you're the one who's like,
Yeah, we're under pressure.
so get a lot of support, and maybe it's from your team to then empathize with your boss. As I imagine that you were hoping this project would have been done last week, because, and then always attach it to the need. Like, why would that have been important to the boss? Because it helps you keep an agreement with one of our clients, or because you have a dream of growth and you'd really like us to be moving toward that dream of growth? Or is it that you have a lot on your plate and you're trying to clear some of that just for your own mental health? So I would just make some guesses and empathy. And then I would ask the boss, are you interested in what is preventing us from actually keeping the agreement? What new information has come up that is making it harder for us to have that report out? Are you interested in that? So that would be a switch in the conversation. Do you care about our needs? Can I tell you about our needs? Because your boss probably doesn't know them. I don't know. And then you would choose, what to share about your project in the needs-based language that's not connected directly necessarily to employees. Maybe, depends on the culture. And then I would always make a request of the boss and say, now that you've heard our needs, is there any way that you can offer, an additional staff administrative support to our project that would really help us catch up? Or is there a willingness to extend the deadline for 1 more week? Or is there anything you can think of that would offer us support because of the overload that we have on our staff right now? So, and is that useful on how nonviolent communication can help support us in those different conversations?
Yeah, this is useful, Kathleen. Thank you. I heard the
Thank you.
keywords about empathetic conversation. So the language is very important. Not the boss is empathetic with the employees, but the employees in return also need to feel empathetic to the boss, so we can create a non-violence environment where we can create a safe psychology safety environment. Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate that.
Well, it's a good point. The way that we create the compassion or seeing each other just as equal human beings is through needs. Because I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to be stressed and really want some support. I know what it's like to have a dream and then have obstacles in the way. And so no matter where I am in the power structure, when I can connect on that level, then it's as a human being, I naturally want to contribute to those needs in other people and myself. So thank you.
Thanks, Annie. I have a burning question I hear a lot when I work with a different customer. It's about whose need will be prioritized. So we usually, when we work with the customer, so there is a tendency that the company will prioritize the customer needs, and it's cost on the employee needs. And many times when work with another colleagues, for example, so when we both speak to the client, so she or he may interrupted me, or in many times that my boss you overpromise to the customer, and after that we couldn't fulfill the promises. So I don't know how we can raise voice in a way that our boss can see that, oh, I don't raise voice for my own only. And yeah, I don't know how to balance between the customer need and the employee needs.
So it's a beautiful question, and it's what I would call kind of a time-related question. Is that in an interdependent system, which we are when we're working together and with customers, the needs of all of them matter, because if the needs of any department or any particular person get out of reach, that person might go into despair and panic, or that department, and won't be able to function and thrive. And the customers can't always get what they need if the employees aren't cared for. And I just want to check, I've got, can you hear me, because something popped up on my Zoom about the language? Am I still in the right channel? Okay, thank you. Great. So the needs of everyone are important, but they don't have to be all prioritized at the same time. So when I'm talking to a client or customer, I may want to make sure that my attention isn't on hearing their needs, on paying attention to their needs. But after I'm done talking to that client and customer, I really want to make sure that as an individual, as a department, as an organization, that we are tending to our needs, or there's no way we can take care of the client's needs. And so part of that for me is the moment in time. If it's only about the customer all the time and not about the well-being of the workers and the employees, then I imagine that's not going to be very sustainable or fun place to work, right? So that's where I would want to make sure that when I'm talking to the client, I just notice like, oh, wow, I have some needs I want to tend to. I will do that later. Is that useful? Does that connect with the particular situation you're talking about?
Yes. So I'm thinking, what if we do a role play?
Okay.
What if you play an employee, and I am a boss. I am your boss, and my tendency is I prioritize the need of the customer than your needs. So how could speak? How could you tell to me? What will you say?
Okay. So what would you say to me to let me know that you're not happy?
So I think that you will talk to me. I am your boss. Are you okay? Are you willing if you do that role plays?
I'm willing to do that role
Yes.
play.
Yes.
And as the employee, am I just wanting consideration for my needs as well? Is that what you're?
Yeah. For example, one customer came is they yell at you. And you told me, and I told you that, oh yeah, because you are the customer service. So you need to take care of yourself. Yeah, because the customer is a God. Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
let's do that role play. Let's jump
Yes.
into it.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I hear that you are frustrated with that customer. I know that she very irritating. Yeah, but I believe that that's your job. I also think that is taking care of yourself is a capability of the customer service.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So the first thing I'm doing in the role play is I'm freezing it. This means I'm talking to myself and my boss can't hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. So remember, this is not out loud. My boss cannot hear me. Okay, my boss is just as irritating as that customer. Neither one of them care at all about me. Ah, this is on my crazy thinking, right? Like, oh, I wish my boss had my back. I wish my boss could support me. I wish we could create a culture in here where it's not so hard. It doesn't hurt my heart so much. Okay. Now when I take my hand off, I'm going to talk to my boss. She can hear me now. Yeah, so if I'm getting you want to make sure the customers have the sense all the time that they're heard. Is that it?
Yeah.
So, and that they're really happy with the kind of service we provide.
Yeah, sure. Because that helps us to sustain our business.
Yeah, that the way the customers feel about us is crucial to whether we're in business or not. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that too. It's actually why I responded in the way I did with that customer. I have a sense that that customer calmed down. I had that sense that that customer was heard. And I think there's some trust that that customer has that we're actually going to follow through in the way that she wanted.
Mm.
And I noticed that was a lot of work for me. That's a lot of work. I feel good about the quality of work that I brought to this organization. And I just want to check in. Are you not comfortable with the quality of work that I bring?
So far, I'm satisfied with that. I just think that if you can be more patient, more tolerance with that customer,
Mhm.
yes, you can remain that stable attitude towards the customer no matter where, no matter what they say.
Okay, let me see if I'm understanding you that when I'm with the customer, you would prefer that I don't show my frustration.
Yep.
Yeah. And are you worried that I was showing it with the customer, or are you just concerned that I showed it afterwards?
Yeah.
When I was
So
with the customer.
yes,
Okay.
I hope
So
you don't talk back. You don't
Yeah.
give any talk back to her, no matter
Yeah.
how irritated or how illogical she is. So don't talk back. Just give your tenderness, give your patience. Do it able, yeah, is it doable to you?
Okay, thank you. So when I'm with her, you would like me to listen and to make sure that I understand what's important to the customer and
Yep.
and not share how it's impacting me. Is that true?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And I'm looking for places when the customer's gone that I can also get some support for how challenging that is in my job, so that I can then go on to the next customer and offer that same quality of being fully with them. And I'm wondering if I can have, 10 minutes between customers so that I can regroup before moving on. That would give me that kind of support. I'm wondering how that is for you.
Thank you. I have enough.
Okay. How was that for you, Quinn, when you said I've had enough? What did you get from that?
It's a bit guilt when I talk to you that, okay, don't talk back to the customer. I think that is a very unreasonable request. I feel so hard to request my, when you thought that, okay, am my intention to ask my employee to not sharing her what impact to that employee? I see that, oh, it's so painful here. Yeah.
So you had that moment of connection where you felt the
yes,
the
yeah,
impact employee. Okay.
yeah, yes. And when you say that, okay, when you keep reconfirming what I want in the concrete behavior, for example, fully listen to the customer and understand what important to the customer. So in very concrete action, so it's become very, yeah, it's very touching and it's very clear for me to understand the what behavior I want to see in my employee to the customer. And you say that, okay, you want me to be fully present with the customer. And you say that, what if you have 10 minutes between customers so you can be fully recharged and you can more support from after that customer to be fully with another customer. So I say, yeah, it's more creativity. I can see more strategy to take care of my customer and to put my customer priority in that moment and take care of my employee in another way. So I see more possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm noticing that in nonviolent communication, we invite people to ask for what they do want, the concrete behaviors. And if you noticed in the role play, the boss was telling me what not to do. Don't talk back. And so how to frame it in those ways where what's the actual behavior that we are looking for and for what purpose, what need.
Yep.
Would you like to get any reactions from anybody in the group? And mostly I'm concerned, is any of this relevant to your particular situations?
Yeah, I just have a question. I think NVC is a practice that we need many years to master. And I understand that the skill of applying NVC will be proportional to psychological maturity. So if in a relationship, like a family relationship, because we cannot leave each other, so we can wait for each other to mature and then come back to solve the remaining problem. But in work, it is different. tasks must be completed on time. So sometimes I just think that very like impossible to remain the NVC culture in an organization. So I just asked, what do you think about that? Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, thank you. I'm grateful because nonviolent communication only makes sense if it actually supports us in our real life situations when there are time pressures, where there are demands. So, like in many ways I answer questions, it's a both and. My experience in nonviolent communication is, yeah, I'm about 24 years into studying it, and I will never get the depths of it. It is a practice. It's a lifetime practice. And over and over and over, I have had people who have come to one introduction and they go home and something radically changes for them just after that tiny bit. And we found in our work in prisons, we had a study that happened around the incarcerated men's behavior after 8 hours of training, which is not, it's so little. They had big changes in their behaviors, in having less infractions in the prison, being able to empathize with themselves and others more, having more pro-social behaviors. So I have seen and have experienced that changes can happen very quickly, and it's a changing and rewiring of cultural training we've had, and that takes a long time. So for me, part of the practice is to have compassion for that. And if I can say, I know this is going to sound, I'm going to sound weird because I'm trying to do something differently. What I've been doing hasn't been working for us very well. So I want to try something new, and you can tell me if you like it better or not. So that's one piece on, does NVC take a long time to learn or not? Yes and no. The piece in business is I am convinced it's actually a quicker method of getting to the heart of things sooner, because it seems like often we take on tasks that aren't actually directly connected to the need. Like if somebody says, I need help now, and great, I'll throw you an inner tube, I'll throw you a lifeline, but it's like, no, I need somebody to type my paper. Like we're so quick to throw out strategies that aren't actually connected to the needs we're trying to meet. That in a business, if we can get clear about what are the needs in this moment that we're trying to tend to, maybe that task isn't directly connected to it. Maybe it's a different task. Or maybe I can say, as an employee, sometimes I actually don't know the needs of what my tasks are about. I just made an agreement that I'm going to do this for my job. So I can also do an interchange and just say, I'm just going to trust that these are important to meet needs for at some point in the company at some other place. So I'm going to ask for the amount of support I need. I'm either going to ask my boss to prioritize the 7 out of 10 of them for me, or I'm going to prioritize those, or I'm going to make a request for an extra half hour, or I'm going to make a request for administrative help or whatever it is, so that we just get clear and quicker when it comes to the workplace. But yes, it's a challenge, it's a practice. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. So NVC is not a tool, it's a lifestyle. Thank you very much. So I am aware of the time that we have 14 minutes left. So I would like to invite any question relating to IIT. If you have any question relating to IIT, and especially if you have work session in IITs, is also welcome. Yes, so the questions is about the IIT question. So if you have any question relating to IIT, especially if you need the question from the answer from Kathleen relating to IITs, I encourage you to share the question now.
I'm wondering if it would be useful to hear a little bit about how the IITs are designed or constructed. Would that be useful? Okay, seen a couple head nods. So, and the International Intensive Training will have 4 different trainers. So you'll have the opportunity to study with many different trainers, because we all bring a different flavor and different perspective. And so that's a rich experience. Plus, you'll have the whole organizing team who's very well immersed in this, and many others who are there. So it's an opportunity for people to learn from and with each other. There's many opportunities to ask for the kind of training you want. We will offer trainings that cover every aspect of nonviolent communication, including mediation, including workplace and business, including how to develop systems. I haven't talked about that at all. In a workplace, we need to have many different systems functioning and having them be coordinated. So we'll have sessions on how to either review current systems and policies we have, or how to create new ones. But there's opportunities every day and throughout the day to request the kind of training you want. So if we don't offer the particular sessions or content that you want, participants can request that, and a trainer will then do that. So there's a lot of flexibility to co-create. Maybe that will inspire some questions you might have.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm thinking I'm inviting the final questions so we can check out.
Yes, so may I have a question for the teacher, for the trainer? Yeah. So from what I observe and listen to all the sessions, I understand that to have it's like that to have like the compassion communication in the company, we need a set of skill. So how ITT 2025 could provide the set of a skill for the trainee? Yeah, in 4 days.
Yeah, it is a set of skills. It's a set of practices for sure. And the whole intensive training for those 9 days will be working on skills. So you'll be introduced to skills and have a chance to practice those skills. And then the skills also build on each other. And so during the time, build on the skills, and then they start to work together and integrate. But there'll be practice, there'll be lots of places to practice. And one reason that we actually stay in community for 10 days is that we can be practicing with each other and have that experience of what did you learn and what did you learn and what is it like when we try out these skills with each other, and what's it like when we end up in conflict, which we will end up in conflict at these events. And so we'll also have a system and practices for how to move through conflict in a way that we end up more connected and we've learned from one another. And so part of it will just be that experience of what is it like to be in a community, even if it's only for those 9 or 10 days. But there'll be lots of opportunity to learn, practice, and witness skills. And so that will be the skill building tool. Now, after the IIT, there'll also be opportunities to connect with people that you may have collaborated with there. People often stay in touch for years or start projects together. You also have an amazing organizing team and NVC practitioners that you can call on regularly for ongoing support afterwards. And you can invite people to come into the business if the business decides they want to also support training of employees. So there are many strategies. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, may you give me any sign that you are here? You may give me a dot into the chat box, or you give me a thumb up so that we can see that you are still with us. Because I don't see you, so I really want to see a sign that you are still with us. Thank you very much. I see a lot of response. It gives me so much warmth and connection. Yeah, we come to very last minutes already, and I would like to invite all of us to share one keyword that you leave this session with. So one keyword you take away from this session. Oh, there is one more question. Yeah. So one person said that she usually to work one-on-one with some women and mothers. Can she use can we use NVC to apply for specific participant to Thu ơi, em có thể nói tiếng Việt. Thu, yeah, I would like to understand more from her about this. Yeah, so I am aware that we have one more question. So are you willing to stay a little bit more? But I want people to need to leave on time so they can leave. So we come back with the one keyword takeaway. So Thu, may you stay a little bit longer so we can come to your question later. So I see hope, I see harmonious, inspiration, gratitude, patience, inspiration. Yeah, equal human being with shared universal needs. Listening. Yeah, goodbye, Annie. Thank you very much. Yeah, gratitude, happy, and exciting, believe and supportive. Customer service. Clear request. Inspiration. Curiosity. Keep practicing. Contribute to each other's needs. Thank you very much. And if you need to leave now, we hope that you have a very good night. And see you in the next month. We have another circle. We will send the calendar later.
Thank you for your time. I hope to meet you in October.
Thank you. I would like to come back with Miss Thu questions.
Great.
So Thu, are you willing to share your question in Vietnamese? I don't understand much.
Hello ạ. Dạ, dạ, ok. Um, Chào cô và chào các chị ạ. Hiện tại thì em sẽ có một số cái khách hàng ấy là em thường làm việc một một á. Và trong cái quá trình đấy thì tức là em thường cũng không hay làm việc nhóm đâu, thường làm việc một một nhiều hơn á. Thì có các cái mẹ với là một số phụ huynh ấy, thì em rất là muốn trong một thời gian ứng dụng NVC thì em cũng tự học với tự ứng dụng á, thì em thấy nó hiệu quả. Thì em muốn đưa một số cả cái kiến thức mà đấy về để cho họ ứng dụng trong cái cuộc sống của họ ấy. Thì sắp tới thì em cũng muốn tham gia IIT ấy. Thì tức là bên bên chương trình có cái sự hỗ trợ mà để em có thể làm việc một một với phụ huynh như thế tiếp tục không ấy, hay là mình phải làm việc vòng tròn, tức là phải có hai người, tức là phải có hai người trong một cái cuộc hòa giải hay sao ấy, hay là chỉ làm việc một một là được? Dạ.
Chị đang hiểu là trong cái chương trình IIT đó có hỗ trợ em để có thể làm việc một một không, đúng không em?
Em chưa nghe ạ.
Em có nghe được chị không?
Là có phần dịch cho chị.
Em nghe được chị không Thu?
Chị Khuyên ơi, chị
Ok.
Khuyên phải vào trong kênh tiếng Việt thì mới nói chuyện được với
Sao em không nghe
Thu.
thì sao không nghe được nhỉ?
Thu chờ chút xíu nha, Thu nghe được tiếng Khang không?
Thu ơi, em nghe được chị không?
À được, em nghe được.
Chị muốn hiểu lại nha, là
Dạ.
có nghĩa rằng là em muốn hỏi trong cái chương trình IIT đó thì em chỉ có nghĩa là có chương trình có hướng dẫn, có hỗ trợ em làm việc một một với phụ huynh không? Có nghĩa là
Dạ.
chương trình hỗ trợ em một một hay là chương trình hỗ trợ em kỹ năng để em làm việc một một?
Đúng rồi. Tức là chương trình hỗ trợ em kỹ năng làm việc một một đấy. Dạ.
Dạ.
Mhm.
Dạ.
Mhm. Yeah.
Em đợi xí nha.
Dạ.
And is Quinn answering it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I found NVC incredibly valuable for one-on-one work. And it's been easier in some ways rather than working with a group. There's such depth and such connection that can happen with a one-on-one relationship. And particularly getting connected again to the needs that mothers or teachers have to hold for themselves and so many others. And being able to help them get connected to the needs and find strategies to tend to all of those has been really a beautiful practice with the one-on-one conversations.
Em cảm ơn.
Thu có được câu trả lời đủ chưa em? So I enjoy this. Thank you, Makiko. We hope that we can welcome you in Vietnam. So if you have another question, yeah, I would like to invite Thắm.
Yep.
Go.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, because the internet connection from my side is not stable today, so I'll turn off the camera. I have a just burning from my curiosity that from what I know about NVC practice and training, it seemed quote unquote a bit serious to me. So I wonder, is there any way to practice NVC that more playful or because I'm work with children, I'm really interested how to collaborate the sense of playfulness into the NVC or different kinds of practices that building peace. So that's just my curious. Thank you.
Oh, I love this question. So part of it is just if we remain curious and delighted in life, just in the interactions, all of that energy is conveyed. So when I meant I stay because of joy, I really mean it.
Mm.
You know, it can be very serious in how I talk, or I could just, wow, you want to play with the red ball? Great. So, but I learned this when my kids were very young. So, you know, sometimes we would have our stuffed animals that would talk about, oh, and we would give them empathy or needs, or in the classroom, the literature for the characters. Oh, I wonder what this character needs. Well, of course they want a friend. Like there's just some ways, it's about celebrating life for me. I think of needs as vital life energy. It's the pillars of life. It's so there's something about when I talk about needs, I find delight in them, and children do too. And so bringing lots of celebration for practices and games. You could have like a soccer ball and you can have needs written on every one of those little different sides, and you can roll the ball, you know, to one kid, and whatever need shows on top, maybe they do some sort of action for how they would meet that need or in their life. Or there's a lot of games that we can play with kids, things that we can do, but also just so much in the delight celebration. If we keep focusing on using whatever this thing we call nonviolent communication, if we use it, I'm putting that in quotes, I think it's a practice that we just are. If we turn to it in the times when there's only pain and not in the times when there's celebration, then it can become very serious. But to celebrate life and to enjoy the birthday parties and to have the new year be filled with the qualities of life that we call needs. Kids are so close to that. I miss them in my life right now. I don't have many near me, so I want that.
Thank
Is
you.
that yeah.
Yeah, I can feel the energy changing also in the way you respond to my question. I love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You have an invitation to come to the IIT, and not just a playful session, but let's just be
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I need a very final question so we can go to bed early.
That's right.
So if you have one final question, raise your hand in 30 seconds. So unless we will say goodbye.
I just want to say Laura said she's an art therapist and playing and working with kids with an NVC approach. I think that's great.
Yes.
And as a parent and helping professional, great. Okay, may I wish you all blessings on the new year that's coming up. That this be a year of playfulness and joy and collaboration and peace worldwide. Thank you to this amazing, amazing team for all of the pieces that are put into place to make this happen.
Thank you very much. Goodbye and good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Good night.
I can stay for a photo. Well, team, did you want